I'm happy and interested to be here. I'm an ex-advertising woman, which means that from an organisational point of view, leadership is extremely clear and paid a lot and all of that sort of thing. And there are no complications about leadership in advertising. I mean, there are coups, but that's all. About applause, if you feel like it, right at the end of the day, fine. And don't if you don't want to. These poems are not a performance. They are to nudge us in various directions that we either like or don't like. They belong together, so I will just take a very small pause and then read the title of the next one and then go into it. And you'll hear them again one by one after lunch. And they are just there to allow us to keep the emotional end of what we're attempting in the room. I'm asking you to do a couple of things as you listen. I would like you to experience the poem and allow yourself to profoundly dislike it or like it, but to notice either the oh yeah, that's what I think, or the ugh, because both of those ends are where our gut theology lies. And then that's with one ear. With the other ear, I would like you to do the ah and the ugh in terms of what the communities that you belong in and alongside, either church or not, would feel about that poem, each poem. We're not talking hosts of golden daffodils. You are allowed at any point when we're conversing to say how much you didn't like or did not agree with any of this. I am not here because I need to be made happy by this. It's interest that prompts me to be here. Right. This poem is called For No One Shall See Me and Live. I will put you in a cleft in the rock, and I will cover you with my hand until I have passed by. And then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. And after he passed by, although the others followed, we continued to hide here in the safety of this rock, content and proud to say that we glimpsed the back of the Ancient of Days as he passed by, for no one shall see his face and live. And although there has been little room for us here, we stayed here, cramped but protected for God knows how many years, living and dying in this narrow, eternal twilight, age upon age. Until one day we heard a man's voice calling down our stony valley, and a bright, strong young voice it was, I am God, come out and stretch, come out and meet me. No, Almighty, we said, what harm have we done you, hiding here, that you call us out to look at you and die? We cannot look at the Ancient of Days. You are not safe. We're happy that we once saw your back. Please pass us by. And that young, sweet, joyful voice called, how long, my children, will you hide here? I am the Ancient of Days. I am a vine. I am a gate. I am a door. I am a man with a smiling face. I am that I am, and I am not safe. But you will not die if you look into my eyes. You will die if you won't. And we heard him walking for many days outside, back and forth, waiting. But still we hid, until after many, many days and nights we heard his steps receding, and timidly we came to the mouth of this stony valley which has been our home for so long, and carefully we peeped out, and we saw his back. The long path down. As I was resting by the way, I met my church on the long path down. Where are you bound, my dear old friends, and why are you headed out of town? We cannot stop and talk with you, those fine old friends called back to me. We cannot sit on that face all day and ponder on the scenery. They wouldn't halt in their descent. I stood in that place, betwixt and between. But what is your reason to go? I called. And what does it mean? We cannot thrive up there, they called. The town is full of ugly dangers and children sleeping in the streets and disease and strangers. We think he must have left, they called. We search elsewhere. They neared the bend and their voices stilled as they went from sight, and I was alone, without a friend. I fell on the road and lay and wept. Such fine old times came back to me. Beloved words, majestic tunes were playing in my memory. I did not notice his approach. He stopped at my side and crouching down, he held my hand and he laughed and said, "Come, we must walk up into town." "We cannot thrive up there," I said. "The town is full of ugly dangers and children sleeping in the streets and disease and strangers." "Up to you," said he to me. "I'm all that's left. Your friends have gone. You can follow them, or you can stay here, or you and I can go on." This is called Old Dog Church. There is a time to all things under heaven, a time to resuscitate and a time to put down. There are old blind limping dogs you tut-tut their owners in the street for walking them, on back legs so nearly gone, when what would be best is eternal rest. Those dogs get put down earlier and with more mercy than some churches. I'm not talking jolly, collie puppy churches now, not the bendy churches, bounding along, following their owner, on great big hopeful feet, starting, stopping, starting, running off and coming back. Throw them something, and they run with it. Stop and drop it, go back and find it, and carry it home. I'm not talking those churches. I'm talking deaf churches now. I'm talking a church whose fetching days are done. Peering at the ground one foggy little step in front, that dog won't know what's been thrown. I'm talking that old dog church which still thinks it's on a walk in the park, who can't tell people from trees. So blind it's lost the way, wandering off out of range of its owner's voice, with no ears to hear its master calling down the alley of the shadow. Why keep it staggering along in a fog and half dead, puzzled and aching? Good news about all church, your church, any church, even an old dog church, even a dying old dog church is older, drier bones than these, have pranced again. You and you and you and you and you could make all things new if you unmuzzled the poor thing, if you let it howl and whimper and bark, if you sold the old unkind draughty kennel and housed it in its master's house, if you train it day after day, day after day, day after day, yelling as loudly as you can, so lovingly, so cruelly loud that you might feel appalled, to teach it just one old new trick, to come when it's called. I looked in that cup you've been drinking from. It looked like blood of 1,000 years. It didn't look nice. It didn't look safe. It looked like the juice of 1,000 tears. Lord, Lord, what did I do to you that you ask me sniff such an evil smell? Torture, slaughter, unwashed feet. I'm not the one to harrow hell. Who is brave enough for that? Who is good enough to try? Who's the idiot who will drink horrible stuff that can crucify? I drank just a tiny little bit. It tasted so bitter I nearly spat. Who can drink the whole cup up? Who'd be fool enough for that? I looked in that cup you've been drinking from. No bottom to it, just too deep, loving and trying all your life, and friends run off or fall asleep. All the big guys with success saying I'm bad and telling lies, all the failures with no power hanging around like a swarm of flies. I look in that cup you've been drinking from. Lord, it's not my cup of tea. Hatred, horror, servitude. Order something else for me. A song to annoy you. My son came home. This is true, actually. My son did do this. My son came home from school and said he'd heard a nice new song. What is it, darling child? I asked. Perhaps I'll sing along. It goes like this, the child began. I know a song to annoy you. I know a song to annoy you. I know a song to annoy you. And it goes like this. I know a song to annoy you. I know a song to annoy you. I know a song to annoy you. And it goes like this. I know a song to... Enough! I cried, not overjoyed. It's homework time. I was annoyed. No point or meaning to the song. Why would I want to sing along? A man came round the other day in cider, spattered clothes. He hadn't had a bath for weeks. He had a runny nose. I know this little song, he said. I sing it when I beg for bread. It goes, I know a song to annoy you. I know a song to annoy you. I know a song to annoy you. And it goes like this. Love one another as I have loved you. A thin girl stopped me in the street, as thin as a Lowry painting. She had a baby in her arms. She looked like she was fainting. I know a song, she said. Please give my son and I a place to live. I know a song to annoy you. I know a song to annoy you. I know a song to annoy you, and it goes like this. Love one another as I have loved you. Christ Jesus knocked upon my door. His back was lashed, his head was sore, his side was gashed. His blood ran red, his hands and feet were pierced. He said, I know a song to annoy you. I know a song to annoy you. I know a song to annoy you. And it goes like this. Love one another as I have loved you. I called upstairs to my dear son. My heart was full of pain. Come down, my darling boy, and sing your pointless song again. How many is that?
5.
5. It's called Living Spits. I walked along High Road in Tottenham, but letting my soul run, I passed an old gracious man out walking with his casual, careless son in a sharp, expensive suit and big cufflinks with shiny bits. And they seemed to me the living spits of the prodigal and his loving dad. And I turned to watch as they turned down some grey side street, and that was the only and last glimpse I had of this ever-loving man and his silly lad. And coming out of the shop where I often get my milk, walking but letting my soul run, I passed a woman with a glory of bronze hair, a nearly naked breast, and a bold stare with tragedy behind, and bangles over bangles, and strong perfume in the air. And knowing her the Magdalene, and losing her the same instant, I turned to watch as she twirled behind a gate into some garden there. And I went to sit down in the park, while letting my soul run, and a man with a stethoscope hanging at his neck and a handsome beard argued on the next bench in quick Greek with a friend Luke-like in the afternoon sun. And a blind man called loudly for cash. A lame man rested on the bench next to mine. And Malchus, a big man out for a run, jogged by on strong legs with half an ear gone. And a westering sun shone. So I went my strange way home, still letting my soul run, and passed a young girl all in blue, head covered, a baby in an old pushchair, who smiled a shy, proud little smile as I halted, stock still there. And I stayed standing stock still feeling I should kneel to let her pass, bowing on that street with its grey stones and blackened grass, beholding that girl in blue, dark against evening light until she was out of sight and after she went from sight. I don't remember which way I walked home, just my key in the door and these glories in each eye. And the sudden thought, if those people are still here, who am I?